Council meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Councillor Foote, would you lead us, please?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Just a reminder, please silence phones, and in case of emergency, exits out straight out the back or the side here, down the stairs. Roll call, Councillor Mills.
Good evening.
Councillor Healy.
Good evening.
Councillor Webb.
Good evening.
Councillor Flood.
Good evening.
Councillor Foote.
Good evening.
Councillor Chase is unable to join us this evening, and good evening from the chair. Is there a motion to open public forum?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to open public forum. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, public forum is now open. The floor is yours. If you'd like to come up, please just state your name and address for the record.
Steve Trefethen, 13 North Shore Road, business owner in Derry, property owner in Derry, a heavy taxpayer in Derry, and going to be a sad person come December when everybody's tax bills get whacked for whatever they get whacked to. But since I had to do some math for another reason, I thought I'd bring it to you and let you know what's happened, which I've been preaching forever, but doesn't help. But I'm just going to give you some numbers. In 2019, we had an assessed value along High Street, Madden Road, and Folsom Road of $4.5 million. We were collecting about $115,000 in taxes. I've actually pulled all the tax cards and did the math. You should know. The loss of tax revenue up to about 2026 is approximately $700,000. The assessed value in 226 would be about $6 million now with the increases we've had in the reassessments and that revenue. It's about $170,000 a year. Another $65,000 it would have been. And I have, like I said, I just did the math on this from the tax cards. The properties that are kept now, the assessed value of those properties, I own 2 and Stenson owns 1, and the rest are all sucked up by the state. There's no taxes coming in. Total assessment today is about $700,000, and the taxes you're now collecting are about $10,000. That's $8,750 a year. So that's welcome to Exit 4A. It's not, we've tried to get the state to, agree with a whole bunch of, so we can get things going early, go through planning, go through zoning, get approved, it takes two years, and by the time the highway come, we could be building. That won't happen. So basically, when the highway is done, because the state is unreasonable in every aspect that they can possibly find, including what they did to the rail trail, you're going to have to wait for them to finish. I know people have heard 2030 on the main part, 2032. That's probably not true. I was told by the state it's 27, 28 still. Probably the town manager, he knows enough to know that at least it's there. The problem for the building part of it is until it's done and we know what we have, we really can't go in for planning and zoning, which is another year and a half. And then from there we got to build, which is another year and a half or 2. So it's another $700,000. So we're going to lose $1.5 million. We're going to collect about $8,700 a month for a year. And that's what we got out of that. So I just want everybody to know the numbers only because I pulled every single tax card and went through it, and I thought it'd be good for you to know. Thank you.
Madam Chair, seeing none, rise online.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to close public forum. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay. Moving on to consent agenda, we have quite a bit. We have item 2666 to approve the minutes from the July 7th, 2026 meeting. We have item 2667, which is ordinance 2026-002 to amend chapter 138 of the general code to adopt the Derry Commercial Industrial Property Tax Exemption Program. There will be a public hearing at our September 1st meeting. 2673 is resolution 2026-044 to accept unanticipated revenues in the FY26 budget to cover finance department expenses. There'll be a public hearing on September 1st for that as well. 2674 is Resolution 2026-045 to approve a supplemental appropriation and budget transfer for the FY26 fire budget. There'll be a hearing on September 1st. 2675, Resolution 2026-046 to approve a supplemental appropriation and budget transfer for the FY26 Emergency Management Department budget. Also a public hearing scheduled for September 1st on that. Is there a motion to accept?
Move to accept.
Second.
All right, motion by Councilor Foote, second by Councilor Mills to accept the consent agenda. On the motion, Councilor Mills,
Yes.
Councilor Haley,
Yes.
Councilor Webb,
Yes.
Councilor Foote,
Yes.
Councilor Flood,
Yes.
and chair votes yes. Motion passes 6-0. Moving right along. All right. I have a few things under chair's report. I guess first, because Tina spilled the beans. Happy birthday, Councilor Mills. I heard he didn't want us to say it, but I said anyway. And happy pre-birthday, Councilor Flood. Yay. Yours is coming up too. All right.
Mine's passed.
What was that?
Mine's passed.
Oh, yours is past. Oh, I thought it was coming up. Oh, it's past. Well, happy belated birthday then. Also, a couple of other congratulations out there. I don't know if we've mentioned it, but I do want to congratulate Councilor Foote in particular on getting House Bill 1469 was signed by the governor in July, which was a lot of effort and a lot of time and hard work that you've put in along with others. Just want to congratulate you and also congratulate the state for actually getting that in statute at this point. So thank you.
Team effort, and Councilor Mills.
Yes, and Councilor Mills as
Co-sponsor.
well.
I'd just like to make a comment. I just came back from a Chicago National Conference where one of the vendors there had saw my badge that I was from New Hampshire and sought me out and thanked me for SB 1469 as New Hampshire being one of the leading states in pursuing this kind of human trafficking. So it's well noticed, well beyond the bounds of Derry. And thank you, Councilor Foote.
Thank you. And last but not least, I would like to congratulate our town clerk, Tina Guilford. I don't know what goes on in most towns, but I know that she is very committed to the role of being our town clerk, so much so that she has spent the last 3 years in a program from the New England Municipal Clerks Institute and Academy, and just graduated in July from that 3-year program. And I just want to say a thank you for your engagement with the role and also for continuing to grow and help us be the best we can be. Thank you. All right, that is all I have tonight, so I'll turn it over to Town Administrator Mike Fowler.
All right, good evening. So I have a couple of general items, and then Owen's going to put up a presentation. We'll talk about goals and some economic development items that are on the Town Administrator's report for tonight. So let me start off with some community information. So town staff participated in a meeting on July 21st regarding an upcoming deadline for the determination of census tracts to be selected for Opportunity Zone 2.0. So Derry has 2 eligible census tracts located within the core urban sector of the community. To qualify, the tract has to meet a couple of dynamics in terms of median family income and or the tract has a poverty rate of 20% or higher. So we have 2 that do qualify, and those will provide tax incentives. So basically, investors are able to shield earnings that they have, and they can defer capital gains and then reinvest in that. So basically, the applications are due by August 28th. Bev is working on some of the application elements to it, and we'll get that into the governor's office, and then the governor is expected to make final selections by the end of September. She will select 25 out of the 53 qualifying census tracts across New Hampshire, and if a census tract is selected, the designation is a federal tax incentive program. So we're looking forward to that. We'll keep the council updated on that. Personnel. One of the things that I wanted to announce tonight is that we have currently 22 vacancies within our roles. We've had some recent retirements that I've talked about. Also, just as a FYI, the Executive Secretary, Sheila Bodenrader, is going to be retiring on October 1st, so I'll go into that a little bit more at our next meeting, but that is going to be a large hole that we're going to have to fill within, not only for the council, but also for me personally, in terms of keeping all the stuff that you see here behind the scenes. It all gets done by her. So we have a lot of work to do. Human Resources is actively seeking candidates for all the positions, but I did want to highlight two of them that were kind of most important in our front view. The Assistant Fire Chief position has a closing date of July 31st. As of last week, we had 14 external candidates and 1 internal candidate. We've had some nationwide interest in it, which is a good thing. So the process going forward will be, as of next week, we're going to be reviewing applicants between the HR director and a representative of MRI and the fire chief. Then there'll be some initial interviews scheduled for probably the week of August 21st. Hopefully we'll have the assessment process done by first week of September. Hopefully final interviews and a conditional offer by mid-September, and then we anticipate that vacancy will be filled by November 1st. So that's an ongoing process. And then also building inspector position, there was a closing date, or as of 7/22, we had 1 internal candidate, 13 external candidates. We are trying to actively recruit through New Hampshire Municipal Association, New Hampshire building officials. We have some interviews scheduled for this week with some of the candidates, but it's an ongoing and open application process. Again, our hopes is to fill that vacancy in the next 45 days or thereabouts. As we're going to talk about, there's a lot of economic development going on, a lot of permit needs that are being put forward. So that is something that we're targeting, hopefully by we get to the end of the month of September. And with that, I'd like to go into some discussion about the FY27 Town Council goals and economic development. Okay. Thank you, Owen. Okay, at the July 7th Town Council meeting, we had put up the general list of Town Council goals that were combined from a goals session that was conducted in late June. Since that meeting, councilors were given an opportunity to then rank all of those goals 1 to 5. So what we're going to do coming out of tonight's meeting is this is the ranking in frequency. So I'll just go through those. The list is the same based on order of priority and also the frequency that the number of town councilors had placed a priority on. So number 1 is review veterans and elderly tax credits and exemptions. The Route 28 South infrastructure improvements, review health insurance via employee and a town committee. That's on everybody's mind relative to the costs. Continued downtown redevelopment. And then number 5 was new police facility with construction hopefully to begin by fiscal 31. So you can see that there was a lot of common themes that were put forward in the top 5. If you move forward to the ordinal priority, where each one of you weighted 1 to 5, basically it's the same 5 goals, but you can see that the police facility moved up the list slightly and kind of moved everything else down below that, but the same 5 goals are shared. And so coming out of this, the town administrator will take these goals. I have a staff meeting with senior staff tomorrow, and we're going to start to implement those. Now, many of these goals have already been in place. We already started to talk about the veterans credits internally, so that's something that we'll be bringing forth within the next probably 60 days for some discussions with town council. The police facility, that's an active item. Health insurance, we've talked a lot about. I've been in contact with Catherine St. Ledger, our HR director, in talking about what the next steps are on that. The Route 28 South infrastructure, we have design underway. We have an EPA grant. We were just notified last week that the SRF funding process through the state, we were ranked number 1 for the rest of that, which would be a low-interest loan. So we'll be working our way through that and reporting to council shortly on that. And then finally, continued the downtown redevelopment. Tonight, there'll be some activity with some ordinance changes through the planning board that Liz and staff will present on that. But obviously, that's an ongoing effort through BEV and whatnot. So we also want to make sure that we remind residents, we remind the town council that we're actively working on a number of efforts that may not be listed as goals, but they're equally as important. So there's a number of endeavors that didn't make the top 5 list, but we are going to continue to push and make sure that we continue. There's a lot of infrastructure that's going on. There's a lot of economic development going on. There's a lot of building projects to monitor. So I think I'm very optimistic with the year that we just had, and I'm looking forward to, implementing these goals in FY 27. And so with that, those are the goals, and you don't necessarily have to make any action on those, but if there's any commentary or anything of that nature, happy to take that, or otherwise we can move on to the next about economic development.
I just have a quick question. So some of the goals that, aren't the top 5, are we still kind of going to be working on those throughout the year? Because we all had some other goals that, they're not as maybe as high ranking as these, but there's still some things that one of my goals is a compensation study for the non-represented, and I don't want to see that just go away. So is there a process for some of the other smaller goals to bring those up?
So I think this process is kind of a way for the town council to clearly define to the staff and to the public that these are its priorities. But beyond that, anytime it's a discussion with me, it's a discussion with town council chair to bring certain items. So you all have that opportunity to kind of talk through those items. It can be agendized or it can be put forward as a budgetary item. But I think with each one of you, I've had conversations about certain priorities that you'd like to see. For example, talking about animal control. That didn't make the top 5, but certainly that is going to be a high priority goal within staff, and then it may require some ordinance changes and things of that nature. So all those goals are taken into account, and I certainly pay attention to them. There's no question about that, because I recognize if we just focused on 5 goals and only accomplished those 5, we'd leave a lot of things out, right? So I think the process to come back around to it, for example, if you're talking about a compensation study, would be to have a conversation with me and with the chair about how do we fund that? How would we want to kick that off? Is it something that would be timed with the budgetary process? I think that might be an appropriate way to look at that, but the door is always open for those sorts of discussions. And there's things that we maybe not even had looked at that are contemporary because they just happened this month or just happened, a few days ago. And those may rise to a high priority just because. So this isn't a static list that can't be amended, and obviously we're not just rigid within those 5 goals.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Webb?
Thank you for putting this together. Thank you, Chairperson Spencer, for the new process. I thought being very open about it was very helpful. The only concern I have is, again, my own soapbox, which is in health insurance, is I think it's a complex problem. I don't think we necessarily have the expertise within this building. And that may be something that we may have to look at financially in the future. But, even if we spend money on a consultant that saves us $1,000 a month or $1,000 a year, that's a $200,000 savings across the town. So I think it's something that, as you work with staff, we should consider, is to make certain that we have somebody that's an expert both in facilitating these discussions and knowledgeable of the problem, because it is a pretty vast problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you for presenting that.
So as we start the new fiscal year, we're already 1 month into fiscal 27. I think it's important to look at where we're trending on the economic development front. So I had asked Bev to compile some information relative to some of the initiatives and where we stand on some of the things. So, looking just generally, our efforts have been multi-pronged. There's been infrastructure expansion, zoning updates, and attraction of new businesses and new projects. So looking at some of the infrastructure, as everybody's aware, the DPW had successfully completed the Rand Shepherd interconnection project to connect 3 community water systems to municipal water. So this was primarily a project for in residential districts, but it also has some ancillary effects on quality of life and attracting people to our community. Obviously, well-known, the Exit 4A improvements are still underway along Folsom Road. Southern New Hampshire Regional Water Projects. We have some work going on at the Shenito Road storage tank and improvements in Londonderry, which were started in FY26. There'll be more information to come. We do have some upcoming meetings with the state, DES, looking at fully funding that Phase 2B, which will be something that we'll bring in front of the council should that be mature to do so. The landfill solar project was completed and that went online last month. I will come back to the council with a brief report as to how we're doing, but thus far the production has been pretty good other than a couple of rainy days. Obviously our fire headquarters were completed and opened January of 2026. And then obviously last year at this time we sold the bond and we have construction underway on our Abbott Court parking garage. So zoning, obviously planning staff and planning board were heavily involved in defining the gateway zoning district in the Exit 4A corridor. Town council will be presented with some minor changes in the central business district at tonight's meeting. So that's also listening to some of the trends that we needed to look at, and Liz and staff will be able to walk through that tonight. So some highlights of some things that have occurred. We have 74 Rockingham Road, the residence at Sky. Crystal Ave, you saw the Common Man and Bangor Savings Bank open recently. 71 Birch Street, Derry Plumbing and Heating. And there's several minor subdivisions, 33 East Derry Road, 84 Island Pond Road, Daniel Road, and Cemetery Road. So there's been some new residential development. And then looking at some approved projects with a future build. So ironically, both 12A Street, which is EPSI, conditionally approved. There have been ground broken on that project this week. And then also 43.5 Crystal Ave, the Grindhouse, you do see some construction equipment on that site as well. So I believe there was an announcement by the proprietor that project is starting up. So those are both exciting. 41 Ashley Drive, which could potentially be a warehouse. That easement was approved through Conservation Committee and Town Council, and that was a major hurdle to the future development of that parcel. 1, 2, 3, and 4 Humphrey Road. It's a mixed-use site plan that was conditionally approved. We're keeping an eye on the process through that. We'll be in front of the council on September 1st to approve easements related to the realignment of Humphrey Road. Abbott Court and LMG Phase 2 residential is not too far behind us here, so that is a process that's ongoing. And then 18 Crystal Ave, reuse of the Rite Aid with multiple tenants. That is something that is going to likely be coming forward in the next 6 to 12 months. Some growth statistics. Tax year 2025, our assessments increased by $55 million. But I also wanted to look as to what just happened, the fiscal 26 building permit stats, 1,375 permits, $88 million worth of construction costs. Now, some of those are relatively minor additions. They might be electrical permits, but there were some large permits within there as well. 33 new residential single-family permits and 353 residential additions or renovations. So as we look forward to the fiscal 28, when we set the tax rate, in looking to the FY28 budget, we're anticipating a similar increase year over year of about $55 million. And again, that helps broaden the tax base. So you're starting to see where we used to figure 15 or 20 million dollars worth of new assessed value. We're seeing multi-year trends of $55 million or more, which is very, very favorable. So, I think the trajectory continues to point up. I think the town does a really good job at looking at sustainable projects that don't tax our infrastructure so much that we can't handle the items that are there. So with that, I think that's the essence of the report. And then looking at future opportunities, 109 Rockingham Road could be a mixed-use site plan. We also have reuse of a couple of other drugstores, the old Walgreens and the Rite Aid at 52 Rockingham Road, 7 Manchester Road, the old San Mina property, 57 Crystal Ave, Bank of America. You obviously have the opportunities in front of you from the West Running Brook Zone, downtown Central Business District, and the Gateway District. So these are all future opportunities. Bev is in contact with a number of different stakeholders on those individual properties and also in a general sense to try to attract good development to the community. She's in the audience tonight if you have any questions relative to that. But I know Bev is also instrumental in bringing some of the key players into Derry to try to talk through various questions that they may have, try to guide them to the right people, whether it's on a local basis or a state level basis, to help them maybe with financing, with some of the questions they have for development and of our staff. So that's a quick rundown as to where we stand, but again, overall, it's very, very positive.
Thank you. Are there any questions, comments?
Aye.
Councilor Healy?
Yeah, I have one. On the new residential and the renovations, how quickly do those get recorded with assessing and the tax card kind of updated to when the project is complete?
It's my understanding, and I believe there's what they call kind of a pickup as of April 1st of that year. So April 1st, 2026, there's a process that you're assessed for the 26 tax year at the status you are. So say there's a building project that's ongoing and it worked over the winter time, they will assess it at that point and it may be 70% done. So it's assessed at that level. And then the following year, when it has its occupancy certificate and it's built, they would get another, the final 30% is assessed at that time. But I believe the date is April 1st of each year.
Yeah, I can see Liz shaking her head.
Yeah.
And so we're notified, as the project's completed for the assessor or whatever to go out and for everything to be completed at that point.
Yeah, and the process works where it goes from the building inspector's office to the assessing office for them to go out and perform those physical inspections and make those determinations of assessment as of April 1st.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right. We have one public hearing this evening, agenda item 2664, which is ordinance 2026-001 to amend the zoning ordinance, chapter 165. Planning Director Elizabeth Robidoux presenting.
Good evening, Council. Before I get into the meat of this, I did want to take this opportunity to introduce Abigail Burrell, who is our planning intern this year. You will see the results of all of her very hard work on some more zoning changes that we'll be bringing forward as a result of the legislative session this year. We'll be presenting that to the planning board tomorrow night and then working over the rest of the summer to bring that forward to you. Abby's also been it's been great between Caroline and Abby. We've been able to keep track of the increasing number of applications that are coming through our office. So I've been glad to have her.
So, welcome.
Thank you. All right, so for this evening, the Planning Board's been reviewing proposed changes to the Central Business District in various definitions since January of this year. The board held 5 workshops and conducted 1 on-site walk to review the district. We actually walked almost the entire CBD this early in the spring. The changes include redefining parking lot and adding a definition for multi-level parking facility to differentiate between ground level parking and a parking structure. And the definition for front lot line has been amended to clarify which lot line is actually the front when a lot has frontage on more than one street. We were running into issues where if it's a corner lot like that, trying to make the dimensions work, and we had to keep sending people to the zoning board, and that just wasn't an efficient use of anybody's time and effort. So we've worked on that. There's been an ongoing goal to maximize growth and economic development opportunities in the core of our downtown. The proposed changes recognize the changing landscape of southern New Hampshire, where increased housing density, the height of buildings, and commercial market trends require some form of adaptation to create opportunities for economic growth and development, while still maintaining the historical character of our central business district. The proposed changes recognize that the smaller lot sizes and land use patterns that have emerged in the district need to continue. And pursuant to RSA 675-7, as we're not changing a district boundary or there's more than 100 lots, we didn't have to individually notice every member or every lot that was affected by this in the district. So the notification requirements were met per the RSA. So rather than going through each of the changes line by line, I'll just provide a summary for you. The proposed changes include an amendment to the purpose of requirements in the district, increases the density for multi-unit mixed-use residential from 12 units an acre to 24 units, decreases the minimum unit size from 800 square feet to 400. It removes the number of, the limit number on bedrooms required. It removes the restriction on where commercial space shall be located in mixed-use buildings while defining the percentage of commercial space that will be required in the building. For that one, currently we say no residential below the second floor. We've taken that away so that there can be some creative adaptive reuse of some buildings. So that the commercial can be a percentage anywhere in the building as opposed to on the first floor. We added medical office as a permitted use in the district and removed the prior term parking facilities, replacing it with multi-level parking. And we also added a requirement to connect to municipal sewer conversions and new developments. Changes to enhance and protect the streetscape included amending the maximum front yard depth to vary in terms of the lot width. So your setback, as opposed, based on how wide you are. For lots that are 75 feet or less wide, the front yard depth would be 8 feet, or the average for 100 feet in every direction. And for lots that are over 76 feet, maximum yard depth would be 25, or the average for 200 feet. Structure height was increased up to 425 feet above sea level, and the prohibited use section was amended to delete the list of prohibited uses as we're permissive zoning ordinance, so we don't need to list what we don't allow. If it's not there, it's not permitted. Off-street parking was clarified to ensure that parking is not situated in a manner that requires a vehicle to back out into the town roadway, and to also prohibit parking or storage of vehicles in the front setback. And we also removed the special exception uses as they were no longer relevant to the zone. So I do want to say the board spent a considerable amount of time reviewing and analyzing the front setback and the implications of any changes to the zoning district based on those changes. For fiscal impact, the town would see reinvestment in the downtown, hopefully, which will generate new and additional revenues and higher assessed values. And it's recommended that you would approve the amendments to the zoning district. And happy to pause for any questions.
Before we have questions, is there a motion to open the public hearing?
I make the motion to open the public hearing.
Second that.
All right, on the motion, Councilor Mills?
Yes.
Councilor Healy?
Yes.
Councilor Webb?
Yes.
Councilor Flood?
Yes.
Councilor Foote?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Motion passes 6-0. So the public hearing is now open if anyone would like to come up to speak on this topic. I do have someone coming up. One of you.
Hello, David Provencher, 26 Miltimore Road. I've been a Derry resident for most of my life. Most of that's been at my current address, but I did spend a year on Railroad Ave, which is right in the middle of downtown. And I just wanted to say this all sounds absolutely wonderful, and I fully support it. And I think anything to get more people into our downtown, more life in there, would be an improvement for the town overall.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve Trefethan, just two questions. Number one, I've only watched one of those meetings. I know you've had a few, so I didn't get a chance to sit in on those, but where the traditional business is an overlay to the central business, do those properties
They're not
fall?
affected.
They're not affected. And then the only other comment I would say, it could be an issue, because I have some properties that are like that, especially with the small backside streets along the back of Broadway and certain things where people can't. There is no other way but to back out into an alley, even though it's considered a street, and really there may not be no traffic. That happens quite a bit. I know mostly every street and every building in Derry. So is there a provision for that, or does that just mean, what do they do if they can't, if they pull in and then they have to back out? And not a lot of times it's not a main street, it's just something, may not even be used that much.
Well, our hope is that people aren't backing out into Birch Street or Broadway.
Right. But does that provision mean they're stuck with it everywhere?
It doesn't mean that you can't. The way we have it written is if you're redeveloping the lot, that we are asking people to take that into consideration when they're planning redevelopment. So if a building is raised and you're putting up a new structure, to plan your parking so that that is no longer applicable.
Okay, so that's
Yes.
that's for new construction, not existing.
Correct. We can't say that, we can't, in the zoning, police the streets. But
Okay, the only reason why I mention that is because when they okay this, maybe that should be maybe that should be clarified for that reason. I don't have that property in the central business that has that, but I do have some in traditional business that have that, and there's just a lot of buildings, and I bet you I can think of 30 where they have to back out into something that's hardly ever used, but it is considered a street.
Yeah, we understand that there are some existing conditions that
Just thought I'd bring it up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, and is there anyone online?
Madam Chair, we're seeing none rise online.
Madam Chair, move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All right, motion by Council Mills, second by Council Webb to close the public hearing. On the motion, Council Mills,
Yes.
Councilor Healy,
Yes.
Council Webb,
Yes.
Councilor Flood,
Yes.
Councilor Foote.
Yes.
And Chair votes yes. Motion passes 6-0. Public hearing is now closed. Councilors, do you have any questions? Councilor Webb?
I think you answered this already, but it just went by a little too fast. On prohibited uses, I noticed that the section 2, the activities included like sexually oriented businesses. Can you please go over again why that was deleted?
Oh, let me take a peek at that for you.
Because I think you said it's already prohibited in another section.
Yeah.
I just want to confirm that.
What? Oh, okay.
You were asking about the prohibited things?
Yeah. So in the list of permitted uses, sexually oriented businesses are not listed as a permitted use. We permit that in other districts. It had, what we did was we removed them, those 3 specific things, because if they're not permitted, if they're not written in that first
Gotcha.
list,
That's
they're not.
what I thought you said. I just wanted to make clear. So if it's not listed as a permitted use, it is in essence prohibited.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Councilor Healy? Someone else had their hand up.
Yeah. Just related to the parking facility going to a parking lot and then the multi-level parking facility. With the multi-level parking facility, would it be wise to add registered vehicles that's in the parking lot, but it's not in the parking facility, the parking garage? It just says house vehicles. But with the parking lot, we're excluding any vehicles that aren't registered. So I don't know if that's something we want to add, if you think that's worth adding, or if there was a reason why it wasn't in there.
I seem to recall a discussion Relating to if there is someone might have a permit in a parking garage to be able to house a vehicle there, and it may be a seasonal vehicle or something, and I think we didn't want to have to police that. Obviously, for some parking garages, you're going to need permits, and that will be all part of a further something. But I know that the board did talk about that. I think that many of the multi-level parking facilities are likely going to be related to multi-family use in any event. I don't know that the town will be taking on another parking garage like Abbott Court anytime soon. So if someone is living in a building and has an unregistered vehicle, they essentially own that spot. So I would almost look at that as if I was parked at a single-family home and if I'm allowed to have one unregistered vehicle. I think the management company would need to police that more than us.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? All right. Thank you. Would you like to read that for us, Council Mills?
I'm sorry?
Would you like to, you tend to read our motions. Would you like to read our motion for this one?
Oh, I didn't know we needed
We do.
an ordinance motion. Ordinance number 2026-001, is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Amend zoning changes to Chapter 165. Whereas Section 5.1 of the Town Charter designates the Town Council as the governing and legislative body of the town, and pursuant to Section 6.1, the council shall legislate by ordinance. And whereas the Planning Board adopted modifications to various land use definitions applicable to all zones, and whereas the Planning Board adopted several dimensional and density changes to the CBD, Central Business District, and now, therefore, the Town of Derry ordains that the Derry zoning ordinance is hereby amended as follows. To amend the Town of Derry zoning ordinance, Article 2, word uses and definitions, Section 165-5, definitions to amend the definitions of front lot line and parking facility, and to add a definition for multi-level parking facilities. To amend the Town of Derry zoning ordinance, Article 6, district provisions, Section 165-33, Central Business District, to amend subsection A, purpose, subsection B, permitted uses, subsection C, parentheses 1 through 6, area and dimensional requirements to include minimum lot area, front yard depth, and building height. To amend subsection F, prohibited uses, subsection G, parking. To delete the Town of Derry zoning ordinance, Article 6, district provisions, Sections 165-33, Central Business District, subsection H, special exception uses. This ordinance shall take effect 30 days after its adoption.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilor Mills, second by Councilor Foote. On the motion, Councilor Mills,
Yes.
Councilor Healy,
Yes.
Councilor Webb,
Just want to thank Liz and Chairman Nelson and the rest of the volunteers. So, yes.
Councilor Flood,
Yes.
Councilor Foote,
Yes.
and chair votes yes, motion passes 6-0. Thank you both.
Thank you, Council.
Moving on to our new business. Item number 2668 is Resolution 2026-039 to withdraw funds from the Capital Reserve Fund for mold remediation at the Derry Public Library, and our Library Director, Kathleen Nemiak's presenting. You just can't catch a break, Ken.
It's always something. Good evening. So back in March, the staff noticed that there was some staining on the ceiling in a couple of different areas of the building. There was also some mold appearing on the walls of our air handler room in the lower level. So I contacted a company called Indoor Doctor to request mold testing, where they found levels of mold in the various areas to be either above normal or very high/severe. So I contacted 3 different companies to provide estimates for mold remediation work. The companies were EnviroVantage, ABS Environmental, and Household Environmental. I presented these quotes to the library's Board of Trustees during their meeting on June 22nd of this year. And after some discussion, they decided to go with the estimate from Household Environmental. Their quote was for $13,850. They also recommended post-clearance testing, just to make sure that the work had been thoroughly completed. So with the estimate of their work plus that testing, I am requesting $15,350 from our capital reserve fund.
Thank you. Any questions? Council?
No, straightforward.
All right.
Madam Chair, I move resolution number 26039 to withdraw funds from the DPL Capital Reserve Fund for mold remediation at the Derry Public Library. Whereas Section 5.1 of the Town Charter designates the Town Council as the governing and legislative body of the town, and whereas we have identified some areas of concern requiring mold remediation, and whereas a Capital Reserve Fund was established in 2004 for the maintenance of the Derry Public Library, and whereas the Library Board of Trustees has requested authorization to utilize a portion of the fund for this purpose, and now therefore be it resolved in council as agents to expend that the sum of $15,350 shall be appropriated from the Derry Public Library Capital Reserve Fund to finance the mold remediation. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon its passage.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilor Mills and a second by Councilor Healy. On the motion, Councilor Mills?
Absolutely, yes.
Councilor Healy?
Yes.
Councilor Webb?
Yes.
Councilor Flood?
Yes.
Councilor Fite?
Yes.
And chair votes yes, motion passes 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next up, agenda item 2669 is resolution 2026-040 to fund expenses from the Compensated Absences Capital Reserve Fund. Town Administrator Michael Fowler presenting.
All right, so the next 3 items under new business are all end of fiscal 26 housekeeping matters. So CFO Mark Fleischer had prepared the staff reports, and basically the first of the 3 is relative to the compensated absence capital reserve fund. So essentially within the OMO, other municipal obligations budget, it was included $354,254 for earned time payouts. And sometimes when you go through that process, we've had years where we've hit the mark, and there have been other years where there have been some unanticipated retirements or payouts because an individual leaves us and we weren't aware of that. Try to project it the best we can, but the mechanism to deal with those variations has been money that's been set aside in the capital reserve fund. So we have a really healthy balance on that. It's upwards of $1.6 million. So tonight, because the expenses in FY26 were $704,000, we're going to be requesting a transfer of $350,495 to cover these payments. And essentially, when this is completed, we will still have $1.6 million in that fund. One of the things that we will talk about as we take a look at the capital funds that we have available to us, the unassigned fund balance, you may choose to send some money in the direction of this compensated absence fund, but Mark and I both believe that we're in a really healthy spot and we're able to continue to cover these sorts of expenses as we move forward. I would say one of the trends that, as we keep talking about some of our more senior employees retiring, I think the reliance on the funds in these large buyouts, I think, are going to continue to diminish because we just don't have as many employees who have large accrued earned time balances that would be due to them upon retirement or separation from the community. So with that, you have a recommendation to move forward with this and a resolution 2026-040.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Madam Chair, seeing no questions or comments, I move resolution number 2669 26-040 to fund expenses from the Compensated Absences Capital Reserve Fund. Whereas the Town Council created a Compensated Absences Capital Reserve Fund in 1997, and whereas the purpose of the fund is to pay for the town's obligation to its employees for vested accumulated leave upon separation and for any earned time payouts in excess of budget, and whereas several long-tenured employees retired in FY26, and whereas transfer of funds from Compensated Absences Capital Reserve Fund will stabilize the impact of end-of-service payments on the town's general fund. And now, therefore, be it resolved in council that the town council, as agents to expend, hereby authorizes the withdrawal of $355,495 from the Compensated Absences Capital Reserve Fund to fund accumulated leave obligations. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon its passage.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Mills, second by Counselor Healy. On the motion, Counselor Flood?
Yes.
Changing it up. Counselor Foote?
Yes.
Counselor Webb?
Yes.
Counselor Healy?
Yes.
Counselor Mills?
Yes.
And chair votes yes, motion passes 6-0. Next up, agenda item 2670, resolution 2026-041, transfer funds from the transfer station solar project. Back to you.
All right. So 7 years ago, the town purchased 10 solar trackers that you see on the hill adjacent to the transfer station. So this was our first foray into solar production, and that roughly generates about 150,000 kilowatt hours annually that is distributed within the transfer station campus. The funding mechanism at the time was to use the Public Works Capital Reserve Fund as opposed to taking it to a bond or any other funding mechanism. And the idea was that the savings in each of the individual departments, because the solar is offsetting the needs to come from the grid, those savings would be transferred back to the Capital Reserve Fund over the course of a 10-year period. So we've reached the 7th year on that for fiscal 26. The amount reimbursed back to the general fund is going to be $26,522.23. It's broken up into 3 segments, mostly from the wastewater treatment plant. That's the largest amount at $17,289, but also the transfer station building itself, and then also a very little bit from the vehicle maintenance budget. So we have 3 more years on this, but this has been an ongoing process, a very successful project, and obviously once we get beyond year 10, there'll be no other need to do any transfers of this nature. So with that, you have Resolution 2026-041 for your consideration.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Madam Chair, seeing no questions or concerns, I move resolution number 2026-041, transfer funds for the transfer station solar project. Whereas Section 9.7 of the Town Charter empowers the Town Council to transfer any unencumbered appropriation balance, and whereas the Town Council approved the use of Public Works Capital Reserve funds to fund the construction of the solar array at the transfer station, and whereas a year-end transfer is required for the annual reimbursement to the capital fund, now therefore be it resolved in council that the town administrator is authorized to transfer the sum of $26,522.23 from the transfer station budget, $8,519.38, from the vehicle maintenance budget, $713.05, and from the wastewater fund, $17,289.80 to the PW Capital Reserve Funds. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon its passage.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Mills, second by Counselor Healy. On the motion, Counselor Mills?
Assuming that the math is right, I didn't check it, yes.
Counselor Healy?
Yes.
Counselor Webb?
Yes.
Counselor Flood?
Yes.
Counselor Foote?
Yes.
And chair votes yes, motion passes 6-0. Next up is item 2671, Resolution 2026-042, to transfer funds to the Derry Economic Development Expendable Trust Fund. Town Administrator Mike Fowler, presenting again.
All right, so the last of the three items on the financial agenda tonight is relative to the Economic Development Expendable Trust Fund. So when the Phase 1 water project connecting Manchester through Derry down to Salem, the town takes in what we call a wheeling charge. And so that wheeling charge is basically a toll for the water to pass through Derry's borders, and eventually whatever the meter reads, we collect $1 for every 100 cubic feet of water that's transferred down to Point South. So essentially, there was legislation that was put into place that the funds that came from that particular instance can be shared with the general fund. So this is the water fund being a separate enterprise fund from the general fund. So over the past, I think it's 5 years, we have gone through and done an end-of-year budget transfer of 50% of those proceeds. So for fiscal 26, we would be looking for the total wheeling revenue was $277,591, and 50% of that would be transferred to the Derry Economic Development Expendable Trust, $138,795.50. So with that, you have Resolution 2026-042 to adopt, and then that will be taken care of internally as a finance mechanism. That fund, as of the transfer, would be at a balance of $667,834, which reflects the prior year balances and revenues that have come in as a result of the wheeling charge.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Madam Chair, seeing no questions or concerns, I move resolution number 2026-042 to transfer funds to the Derry Economic Development Expendable Trust Fund. Whereas Section 9.7 of the Town Charter empowers the Town Council to transfer any unencumbered appropriation balance, and whereas the Town Council previously authorized participation in the Southern New Hampshire Regional Water Interconnection Project, and whereas participation included receiving wheeling charges from users of the Derry system within the project, and whereas the town advocated to the legislature to amend the statute to allow a portion of the revenues to be utilized for economic development purposes, now therefore be it resolved in council that the town administrator is authorized to transfer the sum of $138,795.50 from the Water Division Wheeling Revenue Account to the Derry Economic Development Expendable Trust Fund. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon its passage.
I second.
All right. Motion by Councilor Mills, second by Councilor Webb. On the motion, Councilor Mills?
Yes.
Councilor Healy?
Yes.
Councilor Webb?
Yes.
Councilor Flood?
Yes.
Councilor Foot?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Motion passes 6-0. Last item for the evening, agenda item 2672 is resolution 2026-043 to authorize the town administrator to accept and expend a grant from the U.S. Alliance for Election Excellence. Our town clerk, Tina Guilford, is presenting.
Good evening, councilors.
Good evening.
So I'm in front of you to try to move forward with a grant. So this grant is from the U.S. Alliance for Election Excellence. They found something else that we can do for election offices. We can get our offices certified in election excellence. So there are currently 26 standards. They've opened up application for 11 of them so far. 4 of them I've already completed and submitted the application for, that we obviously are already doing. This is for a grant for one of the biggest things we have in an election. So that's our poll workers. So this is for software. Well, it's not really software. It's a web-based application. And it's for making it accessible to our poll workers for training, video training, in-person training, tracking, scheduling of shifts. I don't know if people realize, we hired 154 people for the November 2024 election. That means that 154 people were juggled on a spreadsheet by 2 people. It is extremely difficult. And then you get last minute emails, people suddenly can't work a shift, now you gotta try to find people to fill a shift, and it's also exhausting. So this program would allow us to be able to send out shifts to people who are not already scheduled to work if they want to pick it up. It will allow us to make training available. Secretary of State's office is going to be putting out various videos that we'll be able to make available to our poll workers. Now, we've sent it to them in the past, but we have no way of knowing if they actually watch them. This way, we can actually incorporate a quiz, have them watch them. They would click through, answer the questions, and we know whether or not they passed, they understood. It's a way of knowing if people have actually taken the time to train. Because they come in person, and it's great, and in-person training is great, but sometimes after a September election and a November election, asking people to come in again in March is a little exhausting. So this would be a tool that we could use to track that and keep people engaged and know that they've taken the refresher. Also, they wouldn't be able to sign up for shifts in jobs they have not trained for. If all you've done is be a ballot clerk, you can't really be an assistant moderator without going through assistant moderator training. And right now, again, we're keeping track of that on spreadsheets for over 200 poll workers that we currently have on the roster. So it's a long and exhaustive process. And obviously, we've been pre-approved for a $9,000 grant. It's all tied to our voter roll and our citizen population. So what I've done is I've done some deep work. There's not a lot of companies in this space. And this company delivers probably the best, I don't know, bang for the buck, shall we say. They have automatic notifications. They have the online training. They have the portal that each poll worker is going to go in and set up. And the only information they really need to give is their name, address, and email address in order to sign up. Well, their name and address is already on the public checklist. So there's not, they don't have to put their phone numbers on it unless they want to get alerts by text rather than email. There are automatic shift reminders, automatic reminders for when we're going to have training. There's even a check-in, check-out system. I know some of you have been there at the end of the night and everybody's scrambling to find the sign-out sheet at 11:30 at night. Somebody already put in a box, so it would prevent a lot of that. And it has just all the things that we need, and probably some stuff that we don't. However, there was legislation that was passed this year, and towards the end of the year, the Secretary of State will be putting out some information. And as a council, you'll need to decide, are we going to stay with one polling place? Are we going to go to multiple polling places? And this has venue management because there are requirements when you have multiple polling places about who can work in what polling place based on where they live. So those are all things we would need to keep track of, and those are all things that we can do with this software. And yes, we're doing it with a spreadsheet, and then there are times that somebody's double scheduled, and there are times that nobody's scheduled, and we're shorthanded, and the idea is to try to prevent that. So did you have any questions?
Council Mills?
So I have a question. So if I understood you correctly, you're telling me that you're, and first of all, congratulations to everybody that comes out to volunteer, these poll workers. But as you're saying, they come out and they work during the primary, then they work during the general election, and then they come back in March. Do they have to be requalified each and every time they come back for this?
So
or is the qualification good for 6 months, 8 months?
So September and November tend to be, once they're trained in September, they work in November, and everything's copacetic. The issue we have is that the legislators up in Concord like to pass legislation that suddenly takes effect on January 1.
Surprise.
And then all of a sudden, we need to change a process for the March election, and now everybody's back in training.
Okay.
So, we pride ourselves on when the Secretary of State and the Attorney General's office comes in, that they don't find any issues and they don't find any problems. And we're doing things the right way by statute. The only way you can do that is to make sure everybody's taken the training in some way, shape, or form.
And everybody's qualified then at that point?
Yep.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Council Webb?
When I first saw this on the agenda, I sent a, through my follower to Tina, questions on data security and data privacy. I just want to thank you for answering those and alleviated my concerns that this was a product that protected privacy, had good data security, and retained ownership of data to the town of Derry.
Correct.
So thank you for answering those questions.
And that's one of the number one reasons why I went with this company.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, seeing no other questions or concerns, I move resolution number 2026-043 to accept grant funding from the U.S. Alliance for Election Excellence. Whereas Section 9.15 of the town charter authorizes the town council to apply for, accept, and expend funds received from outside agencies. And whereas the town clerk has identified an opportunity to enhance election efficiency through acquisition of poll worker software. And whereas the town clerk seeks to access these funds through purchase the software to support upcoming elections, now therefore be it resolved in council that the town administrator is hereby authorized to sign a grant agreement with the U.S. Alliance for Election Excellence in the amount of $9,000 and expend said funds. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon its passage.
Second.
Great. Motion by Councilor Mills, second by Councilor Webb. On the motion, Councilor Mills.
I checked. I think I am qualified. I vote yes.
Councilor Healy.
Yes.
Councilor Webb.
Yes.
Councilor Flood.
Yes.
Councilor Foote.
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you very much. Okay, we are to councilor comments. Anyone have anything? See? All right. Wow, no councilor comments.
Seeing no councilor comments, Madam Chair, I make my favorite motion. I move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, have a good night, everybody. Thank you.